Chapter 30. Well, you sly fox. You've been holding out on me. Robin looked up from tending the camp's fire to find Friar Tuck strolling into the clearing, holding a piece of parchment. He watched as the badger proceeded to unroll the paper and present it to him. When he saw it, his mouth dipped into a frown. "I'm sorry," he said, "but is that meant to be me?" He squinted at the sketch of what could only be described as a rendition of his own face, staring at him with a sly smirk. Above the crude drawing were the words, "Reward, 1,000 ingots for the capture of the outlaw Robin Hood," written in bold red ink. Uh-oh. He rose to his feet and strolled over to Friar Tuck. "What is this?" he demanded. "I mean, besides being a terrible likeness." He cocked his head, staring at the parchment. "Why, they don't even get my snout right." He kept his tone nonchalant, but inside, confusion rose. What had prompted this poster? Why, he hadn't set foot in Nottingham or near the castle or even his own estate in months. And while, yes, he was still technically a wanted fox, Prince John had never undergone any actual effort to track him down. It was understood. He stayed away, he didn't cause any trouble, and he was allowed to keep his head on his shoulders. So why this sudden change? "Don't act so surprised," Friar Tuck scolded playfully, wagging his paw. "You had to expect a little pushback to what you've been doing, which is quite remarkable, by the way. I don't know how you've managed to pull it off." "Pull what off?" Robin stared at him confounded. "Oh, don't be modest," the badger laughed. "Everyone knows it was you. Why, the whole town is talking about you. You're a genuine hero." "Am I now?" he said, raising an eyebrow as he plopped down on a nearby log. He stretched his arms over his head, lazily. "And what, pray tell, have I done lately that has been seen as so heroic?" Friar Tuck caught his look. His smile faded. "You know," he said, now also looking confused. "How you're robbing the rich to give to the poor, obviously." Robin almost fell off the log. "I'm what?" "Come on," the badger admonished. "There's no need to play innocent with me. Why, I had 20 animals come to Mass last Sunday praying for your good health. They're all so grateful, of course." "Of course," Robin was lost at this point. It wasn't funny. "Look, I know you've tried to be sneaky, slipping into town at night, leaving gold and food in all the houses while everyone's fast asleep. But come on, Robin. Did you really think no one would recognize your feathered cap? Your cloak? Why, it has the Locksley crest embroidered on the front. If you wanted to be anonymous, surely you would have worn something else." Robin found he couldn't speak. His mind was too busy whirling. The hat. The cloak. The hat and cloak he didn't possess anymore, because he had given both to Marian the night she'd come to their camp. Aha! That explained it. Marian was up to some new tricks, robbing from the rich and giving to the poor. An ingenious idea, if he did say so himself. He felt a stirring of admiration rise inside of him, until he glanced at the wanted poster again. While he appreciated Marian's ingenuity, he didn't love the fact that it was being credited to him. After all, he told her straight out he didn't want to be involved, and he thought he was pretty clear on the reasons too. Couldn't she respect that? But he couldn't say anything to the friar. While he trusted the badger implicitly, he didn't want to put him in a situation where he might be forced to spill the truth, to put Marian in danger. "Look, I'm afraid there's been an unfortunate case of mistaken identity," he told the badger. "For I have been here in the forest this whole time, and while I am rather overjoyed that the good citizens of Nottingham are being looked after by some unknown benefactor, I have no desire to receive credit for their actions, especially since they seem to come with some," he motioned to the poster, "strings attached." Friar Tuck laughed. He slapped Robin on the back. "If you say so," he said, giving Robin a knowing wink. Robin groaned. Clearly there was no convincing the friar, or anyone else in Nottingham, he guessed. Not without implicating Marian anyway, and Robin certainly wasn't about to do that. Friar Tuck shook his paw. "Now I must get Back to the Abbey, he said. Just wanted to stop by and tell you be careful with whatever you're, not involved in. And with that, he handed the wanted poster to Robin, then turned and waddled out of the clearing and back into the forest. Robin watched him go, shaking his head slowly. He stared down at the poster in his paws. It really was a terrible likeness. But then, it wasn't really meant to be him. Was it? He smiled to himself. Marion, you never cease to surprise me, he murmured as he tossed the wanted poster into the fire. He tried to picture her dressed in his cloak, sneaking into the village at night, a sack of gold in her paws. The image made him chuckle. She'd always been so brave, his Marion. In truth, it made him feel a bit like a coward. He thought back to the night he'd brought her to camp, the fire in her eyes as she spoke of the poor and downtrodden in Nottingham. She'd always been so kind, so noble, so good, just like her uncle, the king. Of course she'd wanted to do something, anything to help her uncle's subjects, and all she had asked for was a little help with her endeavors, a partner in crime, so to speak. And he'd turned her down flat. He cringed as he remembered the disappointment on her face, the anger in her eyes, as the others practically laughed her out of the camp. He tried to make it better, to let her know he understood her frustration. But in the end, he'd let her walk away, out of his life for a second time. Maybe the last time. But in the end, she didn't need him, he realized. She was doing it all herself. The thought hurt more than he wanted to admit. Hey, Robbie. Have you seen this? Robin looked up to see Little John entering the camp, a piece of parchment in his paws. Robin groaned. Yes, he said. It appears I'm a wanted man. He gave a wry smile, gesturing to the paper. But did you see what the artist did to my snout in the picture? Now that's a true crime. Little John wrinkled his own snout, looking down at the paper in confusion. What are you talking about? He asked. Your picture isn't on here, though your name is practically written all over it. He presented the parchment to Robin. Look at this. Robin plucked the paper from the bear's paws, then rolled it out to better see what was written on it. Little John was right. This was definitely not his wanted poster. He looked up. An archery tournament? He asked. Presented in honor of Lady Marion? He smirked, the irony not escaping him. There she was, robbing the prince blind, and he was in turn throwing her a party. Yep, John pointed to the paper. And look at the prize. Robin scanned the poster. A golden arrow? The other prize, John emphasized, just below. Robin looked back at the poster, his eyes widened as he read the next line. A kiss? He looked up. Marion's going to give the winner of the tournament a kiss? Suddenly there was a part of him that wanted to sign up for the festivities, while another part felt a little jealous. It's just a kiss, he scolded himself, and they probably didn't give her a choice about it. Still, he couldn't stop the unwanted visions rising into his consciousness. Some unknown archer with an arrogant swagger sauntering up to Marion to claim his prize, all because he was good with a bow and didn't happen to be a wanted man. He scowled, crumbling up the poster in his paws. It's funny, Little John remarked, raising an eyebrow. And here I thought you didn't care about her any more. Robin felt his face heat. She's the niece of the king, he reminded his friend. It's my duty to look out for her. Your duty? Right, Little John snorted. He pulled a chunk of honeycomb from his bag and began to suck on it. Robin sighed. You know what? I'm going to go check on her, make sure she's all right. John pulled the honeycomb from his mouth, frowning. Check on her? You mean go to the castle? Robin, no, absolutely not. Why not? Robin demanded, even though he could think of 1,000 reasons. Being a wanted fox, having a bounty on his head. I'll go in disguise, he declared. We've done it before. Remember that time for Father Rabbit's birthday, when we slipped into the carrot field dressed as scarecrows? And hey, there's bound to be hundreds of strangers milling around town for the tournament right about now. No one will give me a second glance. Little John pursed his lips as if thinking hard. Then he sighed. All right, he said. If you're dead set on it, I know I can't stop you. But Robbie, please be careful. You're my best friend, you know. If something were to happen to you... Aw, Johnny, Robin said with a smile. He walked over to the bear and grabbed the honeycomb from his paw, then took a bite. It's me we're talking about, remember? I'll be in and out before the sheriff's men even know what hit them. John smiled a little at that, then grabbed the honeycomb back from his friend. If anyone can do it, it's you, he agreed. Just don't do anything foolish. Robin nodded. Obviously, he said. But even as he said the word, his mind flashed back to Marion, risking her own good life to help others. Was it foolish of her? Maybe, but it was also incredibly brave.